Super Meat Boy has been one of my all-time favorite platformers, and was a very big point in terms of kind of establishing Emmett McMillan in his indie dev career. And since then, and getting out of Team Meat, fans have been left wondering what would happen to our favorite meat-based hero here. And Super Meat Boy Forever is finally out. And I gotta press key to look at this one, and unfortunately, the changes and designs I think kind of betray the platforming preciseness that made the original game work so well. So, our story is that Meat Boy and Banj Girl had a baby, and the evil Dr. Fetus has kidnapped him. And it is up to us to, well, go out and run. So if you've missed any of the news surrounding this game, then you've probably missed the big announcement that this is a runner. So as you've been watching me run, jump, and die a lot, I have no control over the speed in which Banj Girl here is running. I cannot change direction other than by jumping off a wall or using a specific power-up that shows up later on. Your only action is this kind of punch that you can do in the air that will carry you, as well as doing a slide that acts as the same thing in terms of hitting enemies. Die, and you'll return to a previous checkpoint. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about Super Meat Boy, or Super Meat Boy Forever, is that the levels are procedurally generated, I believe, or the run itself is random. And what that means is that when you start playing a game, when you load a new game for the first time, the game generates a world seed that I believe determines what levels you are going to be playing, or determines the actual makeup of the levels. It's very, very hard to tell, because the levels themselves don't really have a sense of personality to them. They all follow the same path of going from one section to the next, survive, go to the next one, get to the end, you'll find Nugget and beat the stage. Bonus challenges include finding a hidden pacifier in certain levels, having special warps that you can find that lead to very weird minigames, and completing the level under a certain time limit, which again, even though this is an endless runner, you are still being timed, as you can see in the upper left. Now, the levels themselves all definitely fall into advanced design in terms of runner. Because your velocity and speed are out of your control, it means that all the levels and the various obstacles are set up to accommodate for that. So there really is only like one or a small handful of intended routes through these stages. And that definitely leads into some of the frustration that we'll talk about in the next minute or so. So, from what you've seen so far, with Super Meat Boy Forever, the difficulty of this game is definitely on the higher side. If you're used to, again, runners being very simple to play, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. The only things that really affect your velocity are when you do your dash, and if you press down while in the air, as you saw right there, you increase the speed in which you will descend. Those aspects become very important, not only for optimization, but for some of the more frustrating elements of this game, especially the boss fights. So, in terms of positives, I like the art style. The cutscenes are definitely on the cuter side. They do lack, I think, some of the bite or dark humor of the original. And again, if you are a fan of, the endless runner kind of design, I think things will certainly work for you in terms of the advanced gameplay. But as we're going to talk about next, I feel like this is a case of the developer trying to have their cake and eat it too, and it just doesn't work for me as well as it should. And we're going to talk about that, but first, a quick break. And now for a quick thank you to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. Now available at most retailers are my current books on design. 20 Essential Games to Study is an intro-level look at 20 unique games to provide inspiration for any developer looking to get into the game industry. And the Game Design Deep Dive series each go into a top-to-bottom look at the design of a specific genre, with platformers and roguelikes now available, and horror coming in the near future. With Super Meat Boy Forever, the developers definitely were trying to make this challenging. And I know there are a lot of shade, I think, thrown between the fans and the developer about trying to make an endless runner be above, I guess, quote-unquote, the casual mobile market. And while this is certainly a hard game, I don't find it to be an enjoyable one. And while I died to this boss fight for probably, I don't know how long I'm going to go on this rant for, I want to talk about why we have these issues with Super Meat Boy Forever and this kind of development. Especially considering that the game Wonderland came out earlier in 2020 that I think really did a better job of elevating runner design by making it more puzzle-like and almost more of like a Nintendo game in terms of its progression and difficulty. So, with Super Meat Boy Forever here, the primary problem is that the game wants to be a very technical focused, very challenging title where you need to properly plan your jumps and your velocity as you're moving forward. The problem is that as a runner, you literally can't do that. I have no control over how Meat Boy can control his movement. This creates an issue when you're trying to do something that requires precision or avoiding specific obstacles. And it creates a sense of jank that I don't believe was in the original Meat Boy. In Super Meat Boy, one of the big things was if you were skilled enough at the game, you could learn the rules and the physics and could easily one-shot many levels, and it felt really good to learn the game. In this one, it is literally impossible to beat a level on your first time deathless. Because of the speed at which Meat Boy moves, and again, the preciseness that some of these challenges require, you cannot do it on your first attempt blind. And it feels like more like I'm going through the motions of playing Meat Boy Forever, rather than learning the design and the rules. Speaking about the design and the rules, I found the whole punch-dash thing to be very inconsistent, and you'll see me plenty of times during this boss fight here try to punch, and it doesn't either connect, or it stops where I don't want it to, and I will just end up dying. Now, the boss fights themselves are interesting. It's not something we normally see done in Endless Runner, which I think as you're watching this footage, you can probably see why that is. But it creates an interesting dynamic that I wish there were more of these kinds of set-piece elements, rather than trying to make things more randomly generated. And for those of you who've played this game and are watching, how did you find the randomized elements? Because I think that's going to be a major point going forward. So, with that said, because there is no real sense of control when I'm playing as Meat Boy here, it makes getting hit by obstacles all the more frustrating. Because I'll know pretty much as I see Meat Boy fall or head towards something, whether or not I have any chance of dodging or getting around it. And you don't really have any sense of an emergency skill or a way to avoid it. It's kind of like it's preordained once you make that first mistake. And as I said, this creates this situation where I don't feel like I'm learning the design or getting better at the game. I feel like I'm more or less going through the motions and just trying to deal with things along those lines. And when you're combining, again, that technical and that impreciseness, it just doesn't feel right to me when I'm playing this game. And the frustration definitely sets in, I think, more so than with Meat Boy. When I played Super Meat Boy, a lot of the times that I died, I knew what I did wrong and it was a matter of compensating. In this, when I die, it can be just due to just some random thing that I didn't figure out, or the fact that I jumped and now I have to recalibrate everything due to the runner. And again, because you're always in motion, you cannot stop unless you are connected to a wall there. It means that you don't have the necessary time to properly prepare for any of these obstacles. And it just becomes all the more frustrating to get stuck at a section when you have no idea, or you literally had no idea how you're supposed to get around it in the first place. This isn't like Mario, where levels will have, little icons or warnings to let you know, such as in some of the more advanced Kaizo games. It's basically run through a level, now you're going to die because you had no idea what was coming, now learn it after 5 or 6 more takes. And as I've said, I don't find this enjoyable to play. And this is coming from somebody who beat the original Super Meat Boy, and at this moment is about halfway done the Dark World challenges. So, I know platforming, as the fans of this will certainly attest to. But with something like Super Meat Boy Forever, this feels more like an experiment that just did not work. And for those of you watching this, again, who did not check it out, I definitely recommend looking at Wonderling. And I think I'll include a link to my review in the description down below, because I feel like that did a better job of elevating runner design more than Super Meat Boy Forever. So with all that said, this is one of those games that I'll be very curious to hear what fans think. And again, see if they can find something that they enjoy out of this lack of control that Super Meat Boy Forever represents. So again, I would like to thank the developer for giving me a press key to check this one out, even though I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And if you would like me to tickle your game in the future, please get in touch. But come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where I examine the art and science of games. Check out our Discord and Patreon link down below. And until next time, take care. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.